Hey everybody, it's me Andy here from the Commander's Brew. Hey, you know what we're doing around here? We're making a couple of good Commander decks on a cool budget, having a good time. My boy Karth knows what it's all about. He's back there, he's watching. Thanks for checking us out. This one is Katilda, and it's all about humans and making big mana. Check it out. All right, here we go, Sean. It is Waltzing Katilda herself, and she has quite a few waltzing partners here. All humans, 2 feet, 2 hands, classic Halloween skeletons.
Waltzing around a haunted house.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Katilda, I think, is a witch, but she has nothing to do with the recent Coven mechanic. She's just happens to be in that set with those colors and as a human and has protection from werewolves. But let's get into it. Let's talk about Katilda. I like this commander. I think it's actually pretty fun, even though it's like, it seems really straightforward, kind of. But let's talk about her a little bit. Katilda, Dawnheart Prime. Green-white for a 1/1 human warlock. Yeah, with protection from werewolves. So forget about it, werewolf deck. You're not even coming close to touching my commander with this one. Thank you very much. She says human creatures you control have tap, add 1 mana of any of this creature's colors, and then you can pay 4 green, white, and tap Katilda to put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. So there's a lot going on here. Namely, these are the top 3 things. Okay, we have obviously other humans now are mana dorks. She kind of turns them all into elves, which is great. She can put a bunch of +1/+1 counters on things. For 6 is a lot, but hey, it's pretty good when it happens to all your creatures, and especially when all your creatures tap for mana, so it doesn't hurt that much. And third, and maybe the most underrated part of Katilda, is that she only costs 2 mana. All right, she's just a 1/1, but don't worry about werewolves hurting her. She's just a 1/1, but basically she's a dork. She's she's ramp. She obviously causes the other things to ramp. Being able to drop her on a later turn for 2 mana and then just tap all the rest of your humans for all this mana is a huge move in this deck. Another huge move is just play her out on turn 2, and then you're right up to 4 mana right away if you on turn 3 if you drop that land. So she's a great commander. She does a lot, really, with like seemingly little to do. Right, it's all about mana. For the most part with her, but yeah, she does a lot of stuff, and it's really fun. And based on this, we're doing what Katilda wants us to do. We're going to get a bunch of humans. We're going to drop Katilda, and then just go big with some big spells, some big effects. So let's get into it. I mean, this is it almost feels a little bit more of a Gruul style of deck, just because we're that kind of big mana, go big with something. But this is the Selesnya kind of flavor on it. So let's set it up here. Let's set the scene. Take a look at some of the vegetables here in this deck, because again, Katilda being our main source of ramp, we kind of have like our vegetables all kind of loaded into the humans in the deck. So Sean, why don't you take us through the first few of these human creation cards?
Well, if you hear a conga line started, you must join the dance.
That is true.
Green-white sorcery. Create 2 1/1 white human creature tokens, and it flashes back for 5 mana. That's 4 humans. And they will pay you back in mana. These first 2, it's a sort of free. I mean, you're paying it now, but you'll get it back when Katilda shows up.
Yeah,
I love that. Gather the townsfolk. Similar. 1 and a white sorcery. 2 1/1 white human tokens onto the battlefield. And if you have 5 or less life, Fateful Hour kicks in, and you get 5 tokens instead. Tall order in Commander to be between 5 and 0.
Yeah, unlikely situation, but hey, if you can work it, make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, we don't mind Thraben Doomsayer, 1 white for a 2/2 human cleric. Tap, create a 1/1. Excuse me, I had to yell there.
Ooh, it's getting
create
late.
A 1/1. It is late. We're recording at night.
Yeah, that's right.
Create a 1/1 white human creature token, and again, Fateful Hour. If you got 5 or less life, all of your other creatures get +2/+2.
Man,
we're a go wide deck. So I'm going to assume the entire strategy is to get out Thraben Doomsayer and get our life total to 4 and just give our whole team a +2/+2 anthem.
We should make a Fateful Hour deck.
Oh my gosh.
We really should. I didn't even think about that, even especially when I put these cards here in the first section. But yeah. Anyways, Thraben Doomsayer is actually going to pay off in a big way, as you'll see when we get down into the meat of the deck here. But still, just a good card. I mean, even if it's only making 1 per go around the table, that's pretty decent. Because again, it's going to pay you back in spades, right? Like that's just mana. That's making mana. Like this is giving you an extra land, sort of. With every turn.
This is also the perfect card if you have like a Liam Neeson theme deck or something like that. This card has to go in.
Yes, absolutely. No question about it. On top of these great humans, we have another it's like the superhuman of the group. Still human, but a super version of all the humans you'll see here. It's Heronblade Elite, 2 and a green for a 1/1 human warrior with vigilance. And it says, whenever another human enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Heronblade Elite. And then you can tap her, and she adds X mana of any one color where X is Heronblade Elite's power. So she gets really big as she makes humans, and then makes a ton of mana. That's just going to, feed the strategy even more so, while being a big threat, certainly, too. Because if you can get her down early and a bunch of humans under the battlefield, she's just going to get massive. And the vigilance. Do not forget about vigilance. Vigilance is your very good friend, again, as you'll see later. But that's kind of it, really. I mean, basically the early stages of this game, outside of just regular ramping, you just want to get humans out. We want to have as many of these cheap human making spells. Again, like Gather the Townsfolk isn't a great commander card. It's 2 mana for 2 tokens. Usually you can do better than that in Commander. But in this deck, it's completely worth it because it's not just 2 humans, it's 2 mana. It's essentially a free spell, in the long run. And there are even times when it literally can be a free spell in this deck because you can actually tap the humans right away. That's possible. So anyways, let's get into, the neat moves. Working on a neat moves. All right. So as you can imagine, we end up with a lot of our creatures tapped in this deck, because when we get a bunch of humans out and then we play Katilda for only 2 mana, which is incredible, then we just tap out for some big spells or some big effects, and that's dangerous. We're getting more and more aggressive in Commander these days. If you go shields down, someone's going to take advantage of that. So not only to protect ourselves, but also to take advantage of our mana producing abilities, we're going to want to untap our team a little bit. So, Sean, why don't you take us through these ways to untap our team?
When I think untapping, I think Seedborn Muse, right. 3 green, Spirit, 2/4. Untap all your permanents during each other player's untap step. Amazing. All your lands, all your creatures, artifacts, everything.
Automatic, right? Like this is just the one everyone thinks of.
We can also get a ton of mana back because of Katilda with Vitalize. It's a single green for an instant. Untap all creatures you control. Well, when all your creatures are mana darks, you're just making mana. This is an enormous ritual effect in the deck. And then Reveille Squad, Reveille Squad.
I don't know,
depending
man. Reveille,
how you want to pronounce it.
Reveille. Yeah, you're right.
Reveille. I think we call it Reveille. Is that little song that they wake up to in the army?
Oh.
That
is that what yeah, okay.
It's spelled like this. I think they call it Reveille, but it's a French word.
Okay.
So like my, French as a Canadian, my French education makes me want to say Reveille Squad.
That's like how that drink in the States. It's here too, but in the United States, it's pronounced LaCroix. Right. Because the place that it's named after in the United States
Mm-hmm.
they also say it LaCroix, but that's La Croix, right? And so whenever I saw it when I was in the States, I was always calling it La Croix, and people were like, "What? It's called LaCroix?" And I'd be like, "No, I know French a little." Anyway, same thing. Anyways, Reveille Squad, sure.
Squad. If that's easier for you to say.
Yeah, there you go. Say that. I'll type that out.
2 white, 2 white creature, rebel, 3/3 is human rebel, actually. Whenever you're attacked, if Reveille Squad is untapped, you may untap all creatures you control. Great. I mean, it wakes everyone up. That's exactly what the purpose of it is.
Exactly. So, I mean, truly, you probably won't get attacked that much if you have this out, because people, they can see it. It's right there. It's not some kind of trick you're pulling on them. But this can be a nice political card, I feel like. You know, hey, if you attack me with a guy, I won't block, and then I'll take care of this person's thing, you know, that's causing us all problems or something like that, right? You can maybe work some deals with that. So that's a nice little move. Next, though, we're going to be tapping our team a lot, as I mentioned. We're going to be tapping out for big mana spells. But there's other ways that we want to tap things, and other reasons we want to tap things, and then other benefits we're going to get from tapping things. So let's take a look at some of those. Right off the bat, we've got Devout Invocation. This is an interesting one because it's 6 and a white for a sorcery, and it says tap any number of untapped creatures you control. Put a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying onto the battlefield for each creature tapped this way. So this one's kind of like a weird, it's almost like a non-bow in the deck, you know? Like it costs a ton of mana, it costs 7, but then you also tap your creatures. So like actually you kind of like lose mana on this deal. You're actually spending like a lot more of the mana you would be spending on Devout Invocation. But you're getting a bunch of 4/4s, which is still really good. But combined with our untapping stuff, Devout Invocation isn't like that bit of the sting kind of comes out of it. Also, there's lots of times where maybe we don't have Katilda and it just makes sense to just play this or whatever. So you're not actually like losing out too much. But Devout Invocation, I think, belongs in the deck either way, even though it is kind of a little weird nombo with us. But then we also have Harvest Season here, 2 and a green for the sorcery that says search your library for up to X basic land cards. Where X is the number of tapped creatures you control. Put those cards onto the battlefield, tapped, shuffle your library. I mean, this is going to be a ton. This only costs 3 mana. You can tap 3 creatures to do this. You know, you don't have to wait for an attack or any other, you know, weird thing. You just have Katilda out and do it. So this is going to get real big. I almost feel like
I love this card so much.
I know, right? And I never use it. But
well, it's so tricky, and then because most of the time we only tap our creatures to attack, but Katilda allows us to tap 6. I'll just tap 6 little humans and go up by 6 mana. Thank you very much.
It seems like such a, like I said, it seems so straightforward and like kind of boring, but it actually enables so much fun stuff to happen. And Harvest Season, you know, the floor on Harvest Season is, as we all know, finding it on the ground and not knowing what it is, not knowing what magic is. That's the floor of any.
Why is this character not have a face?
Yeah, right. What's going on? Why is there a drawing on this little piece of cardboard? That's the floor of every Magic card, as we all know. But the floor of it, at a game's perspective, is obviously just casting it and there's nothing you can do. Well, that's very unlikely with Katilda just because of her ability. So Harvest Season gets a lot better, and the floor is less likely we're less likely to see the floor. And then finally here we have Throne of the God Pharaoh, kind of an auto include here. It's the 2 mana legendary artifact. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses life equal to the number of tapped creatures you control. So you can just, you know, tap them for your mana, play big spells, and then you're still hitting your opponents essentially with, you know, with your creatures. It's great. I mentioned earlier, Vigilance is our best friend. Sean, what about this card here?
Yeah, Brave the Sands. Such a great little enchantment from, was it Khans of Tarkir? 1 and a white for an enchantment. Creatures you control have Vigilance. This effect doesn't show up much. It's hard to get this, but here's a wonderful 2 mana enchantment that does that. In addition, each creature you control can block an additional creature each combat. I mean, we got a wide board of little 1/1s for the most part. If we need to chump block, getting a double chump from one little dude is amazing.
Yeah, it is.
I don't imagine that side being the best side, but Vigilance for the team is for 2 mana. Thank you. And this is an old enough Magic card that they could have made this cost 6, and it would have just been like, you know, back before they tried to make things playable.
Yeah, 2 is perfect for this. I agree. Like the double blocking thing is good, but not the highlight. Obviously, we just want the Vigilance, but it is better in this deck because your humans represent mana. So like they have added value in this deck. So if you only have to lose, half as many. If there's a big attack coming your way, instead of just chumping all of them, you only have to lose half as many. That's really good. That just allows you to rebuild your board, even faster. And obviously just play some great defense there. So Brave the Sands is really strong in this deck. I love it very much. I'm going to audible one here that I meant to put in here, but I didn't. It doesn't need to be said that this card is good. We all know this. It's honestly a full-on commander staple. It's Lightning Greaves. But in this deck specifically, I just wanted to mention that it's one of the only ways to get all of our creatures to have haste and therefore be able to tap for mana the moment that they come in. In green and in white, you just don't get these effects. This is not there aren't a lot of everyone has haste effects. So Lightning Greaves is one of them. It's one of the more it's certainly one of the more affordable ones, considering the other green one is like a lot of money, Concordant Crossroads or whatever. But yeah, so if you have a pair of Greaves kicking around, throw it into the deck. It's well worth it.
Crossroads up to? Couple Bitcoin?
A couple of Bitcoin. Full Bitcoin. 1.0
One
Bitcoin.
One Bitcoin. I know a guy on the dark web who can get you a Concordant Crossroads. It'll cost you a Bitcoin. Which is a pretty good deal.
The cheaper version of this, of course, which I kind of forgot to put in. I think I forgot to put this in the deck, but it's the Crashing Drawbridge. Got to mention this card. It's so good. It's the 2-mana artifact creature wall, 0/4 with Defender, and it taps to give creatures haste until end of turn. Killer card, so good. This should be another commander staple too, though, right? Like, this is so good.
Well, and I don't know if we've ever mentioned this, but it is even better than that. If you want to imagine this little card is the front of the drawbridge, and then you turn it sideways like it falls open and like everyone comes spilling out. The card even does a drawbridge move when you use it.
So like you hold it up, put it on the table, and just let it like fall down.
Yeah,
and you're like,
I just mean tapping it. Tapping it.
Oh,
is
tapping
like,
it. Okay, I thought you meant like
if
hold
you
it
imagine. Up. I mean, if you want to play 3D Magic, that's the way of the future.
Yeah.
When all the cards are.
That's how we're going to be playing with our SpongeBob SquarePants Magic cards. It's like
the Tron ones. I want the Tron ones to be like that. Yeah.
There goes the drawbridge. Doink. There it is. Okay. Anyways, Crashing Drawbridge, great card. Much cheaper than Lightning Greaves. Does a similar effect in this deck. Also, of course, it protects our commander. But anyways,
so Andy, we've got so much mana. What are we building towards? What are we doing?
I would love it for the portion of the deck that is all about X spells, for the X spell master himself to read these three, please. I would love it.
I love X spells. Okay, of course, we got tons of mana. We're gonna do X spells. How about Entreat the Angels? It's got Miracle. So since this is in your deck, you have to do all your draws separate and like look at them.
You got to do the pulling across, the looking at when it's down on the table, then the pulling up here.
Yeah. So okay, the normal cost is white, XX. Create X 4/4 white angel creature tokens with flying, or if you miracle it, it's just X white for so many angels.
Yeah.
How about full flowering? We've got tons of tokens out there. Green XX, populate X times. A reminder, populate is to make a copy of a token you got. Any token, make a copy of it. Mm-hmm. How about Tribal Unity? 2 and a green, X. Creatures of the type of your choice get +X until end of turn. It's like a build your own overrun without the trample. But yeah, I mean,
I chose this.
You can make them so huge.
Yeah, I chose this over like an overrun type of thing. I mean, we have Endrace Forerunners in here too for like a big finisher. But Tribal Unity, just because it works so well, because you pick the type, it's an instant, which is kind of fun. Which means we can attack with Vigilance and then tap them all to get it, like kind of out of nowhere. So I think that instant speed. I joked around in the Discord when we were brewing the deck, and I was like, this card's kind of bad, but like it's kind of perfect for this deck also. So yeah, I included Tribal Unity in it, and I think it's like a fun card. Yeah, it's fun to try out the different styles of these types. Like, yeah, I could put in whatever, overrun, and like all the boring ones that we always use. But why not, when you find a kind of an off kilter, weird niche one, like why not use it and see how it works for you, right?
This is the joy of Commander.
Yeah.
You have to. You have to.
Yeah, you don't have to optimize 100% all the time. You just don't have to. It's fun to play around with things that, that you don't see that often. Plus the art on this is weird and cool. It's just like furries beating the crap out of each other. I don't know. Anyways.
And it does remind me of Beastmaster Ascension, which is this evokes.
Which is another great one that we could use. There's tons of these great abilities, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Full Flowering is cool because it's XX green, but then you end up getting back one of the X's in mana. Right. So it's kind of like it only costs X green. And yeah, obviously in Treat the Angels, you just get such value from it because they're angels.
Yeah.
With the 4/4s. So yeah, a lot of cool big X spells there. There's more big spells here. This was a great one suggested to us. Kamal, Heart of Kroza, 6 green for the legendary 5/5 human druid. Most of our creatures in here are humans, so they can also tap on top of everything, right? At the beginning of combat on your turn, creatures you control get +3/+3 and gain trample until end of turn. And also 1 and a green. Until end of turn, target land you control becomes a 1/1 elemental creature with vigilance, indestructible, and haste. It's still a land. So this is going to be interesting. Like, we're probably just going to drop Kamal and attack. Like, we don't need to worry too much about turning our lands into creatures, but it's there for you if you want. We've got Kindred Summons, which I think got a reprint recently, so it's like down in price, which is great.
The Forgotten Realms commander.
Yeah, 5 green. Choose a creature type. Reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal X creature cards of the chosen type, where X is the number of creatures you control of that type. Put those cards onto the battlefield. Shuffle the rest of the reveal cards into your library. So you'll get a lot of humans this way. It's very possible, depending on the timing of this card, that you could just get every human in the deck out. Because you reveal them until you reveal that number of humans, right? So, you're going to get a lot of humans if you have a bunch out.
A lot of our humans come from tokens too.
True.
So, we'll be passing those by.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, yeah, that was it. Just those two. So there's other obviously big ones. There's lots of big spells you can grab. It's green. You can, there's even more spells to choose from. I tried to choose some slightly off kilter ones, some slightly different ones than ones we see all the time. But yeah, there you go. This next one is was just again another fun ad from our Discord. And Sean, why don't you take this one? It's not really like any specific interaction with it other than what it does.
Well, it's a brand new human warlock from Midnight Hunt, Sereth the Viper's Fang, 2 green, 3/4 legendary human warlock. Other tapped creatures you control have Death Touch. I mean, when 1/1s have Death Touch, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
And other untapped creatures you control have Hexproof. Didn't touch me.
Pretty sweet.
1 tap, untap another target creature or land you control. Who is that superhuman who taps for mana? Untapping
Heronblade Elite.
Heronblade Elite. Untapping that once will net you a bunch of mana.
A lot of mana, yeah. And again, protection of the commander here. Yeah, this is just an auto include. I think this one was from Papadio in our Discord here.
Yeah.
I've also just got a couple of just kind of generally good cards again. We also have a minor +1/+1 counter theme in here. Check out the deck list for that. There's some stuff to look at. We didn't go super hard on it because it otherwise is kind of just like a way to pump our guys. But there's some cards in here that are worth looking at. But otherwise, Gallows at Willow Hill. This is like the human tribal card from Innistrad. 3, it's from Avacyn Restored actually, but 3 mana for the artifact. Pay 3, tap it, and tap 3 untapped humans you control. Destroy target creature. Its controller gets a 1/1 spirit. So yeah, I guess it kind of secretly costs 6 because you're tapping humans to do it, plus paying 3. And they do need to be untapped. You can't just whatever. You can't tap anything that's already tapped. So that's a bit of a bummer, but there's going to be times when you're going to want to use this, and I think it's still a very strong card even in this deck. Again, a bit of a weird non-bow when you have to tap humans and you don't get the mana from them. Marshall's Anthem was a cool late addition to the deck. It's 2 white for an enchantment with multi-kicker, 1 and a white. So you can kick this as many times as you want to get the effect. So it says creatures you control get +1/+1, but then when Marshal's Anthem enters the battlefield, you return up to X target creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield, where X is the number of times Marshal's Anthem was kicked. So, after a board wipe, if you drop, maybe you flashback, join the dance, maybe we play out our commander again and we've got an additional 4 mana on top of what our lands are. You can Marshal's Anthem sometimes for like 2 or 3 times and get back some of those key humans that were destroyed and put into our graveyard. So Marshal's Anthem is really strong here.
I forgot about this card. I was fully expecting it to say creatures you control get +1/+1, and they get an additional +1/+1 for every kick or counter you put on. Of course, or whatever. Yeah. But no, this is way cooler.
Yeah, I remember my first interaction with this card was in your cube. Ooh, you had this in your cube back when I was learning to play Magic, and I remember thinking that this card was incredible. I remember being like, you get to put the creature right back onto the battlefield. I was like, wow, that's nuts. It's one of my first interactions with a reanimate spell also, which is funny.
Nice. And I'm not as big on this as you are. So Andy, what's the name of that other Jedi? He's kind of got like a pink head. He looks like an old man, with a long head.
Oh, Ki-Adi-Mundi?
I don't know.
The guy from episode 1? Like, he's got like a weird kind of bumpy, tall head.
Yeah. He looks like an old, he has a white beard.
Yeah,
white mustache.
Ki-Adi-Mundi. That's right.
Ki-Adi-Mundi. Is that a young Ki-Adi-Mundi in the bottom corner of this art?
You're right, that core. Yeah, that is. That's who that looks like for sure. Yeah, a little bit of Clone Wars era Jedi coming in there. Okay.
He's a planeswalker. It's confirmed.
That's right. He would have to be. Okay, I'm just looking up something here. Oh, never mind. I can't find it. Anyways, the next and final card is Pyre of Heroes. This is from our boy Andy Bentley, Mr. Big Bench. Check him out on Twitter. Check out his podcast too. He's got a Commander podcast rocking over there. Commander's Forge, I believe it's called. Pyre of Heroes, 2 mana for the artifact. Pay 2 and tap it. Sacrifice a creature. Search your library for a creature card that shares a creature type with the sacrificed creature and has CMC, or I guess mana value at this point, equal to 1 plus that creature's mana value. Put that card onto the battlefield and shuffle. Activate only as a sorcery. So when this card came out, we talked about, this is tribal, what's it called? You don't know, a pod, birthing pod. And we're like, yeah, that's not that good though. Well, here we are, a tribal deck, and we have a bunch of tokens. Guess what? It's really good. You can do this to get any of your 1 mana creatures, which we do have 1 or 2, and obviously then you can go up the chain. You're probably using a chain effect for this. In fact, like Pyre of Heroes to get Heronblade Elite off of your commander is a totally fine play, because then, especially if you float mana from your other humans, you can just recast your commander then use, it can be wild. It can be really fun. So Pyre of Heroes ends up being a really good card in this deck. And a little bit of a preview for Lost Cards, too. When that comes out, check it out, because there's a couple different routes we can go, and Pyre of Heroes and sacrificing is one of the routes you could lean towards with this deck very easily. Yeah, there you go. That's the deck. I gotta say, Sean, I was pretty impressed with a sort of mana-focused build. I'm impressed with how not boring it was. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it just seems like,
I'm glad
whatever.
to hear. I'm so glad to hear. This sounds fun. I also was worried. I was like, so wait, you put a bunch of humans, use them for mana and cast big things? It's like, well, yes. Right. I mean, that is in the blueprints, yes. But it comes to life in a much more interesting way.
Yes, absolutely. Because I feel like it's, for me, when I was putting this deck together with the people in Discord, a lot of the cards that were coming up were a lot of ones where I was like, oh yeah, that card. I see it. I've seen that card. I've always thought that card was good, but I never use it because I don't have a deck that uses it. Like Marshal's Anthem is the perfect example of this. Like, I love that card. I think it's good, but I've never really put it into a deck. There's never been a deck that really wanted to use it like this one does. But now I get to use it. It's great. And there's a bunch of cards in here that are like that. And I think if you can find a deck that's doing that, you've found a pretty that's a good deck, for you.
Yeah.
So I'm stoked. Yeah, I'm happy with it.
I'm happy. Yeah. This sounds fun.
And like I said, it's like Selesnya. Usually, I mean, tokens, yes, but this whole thing of like tapping for mana, I don't know. That seems like more of a gruel thing. Anyways, we've done all the neat moves. It's time to talk about our Discord helpers real quick. For this one, we had a lot of help. This was a good nighttime brew for us. We had Nosrak 2 in there, Beauregardin, Groove Chicken, Chiefy, Mr. Big Bents, like I mentioned before, Micah, Eternity's Crafter, Neo Maxis, Papa Dio, Slothbear 55, The Wizard Cops, Jason Belk, all in there helping us out. If I missed anyone, apologies. But yeah, it was good. Some people coming in while we were in there brewing, some people coming in a little after. It was great. Putting down some real strong cards in there. All right, well, we've talked about the Discord helpers. It's, I believe, time for the budget report. All right, well, I'll tell you what, TCGplayer treated us well this time. We didn't get a bogus low score that's much higher than the mid.
Good. They flushed out that rogue store was ruining the stats.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, they fixed the bugs. They got them out of there. Our mid for this one is around like 120, 126, I believe. And the low was coming in at around 60. So you can just chop it right in half for a low. That's pretty nice. And you can, of course, get it down even further, as we always like to point out here. Two of the more expensive cards in this deck. One of them, Sean, you want to read this one?
Yeah, Cryptic Gateway, a really old artifact for 5 mana. Tap 2 untapped creatures you control. You may put a creature card from your hand into play that shares a creature type with each creature tapped this way. Oh, I see why that's expensive. It's $10-11 because it's for free. Just drop another tribal cards. Like, this is easily a tribal staple.
Yeah, and it's really strong, and even in this deck it's still very, very good. But you don't get the full effect because we have so much mana and we are already tapping our creatures to put things out. And actually, like, a lot of our humans, a lot of our tribal brethren, they don't actually cost that much. So you're spending 2 mana if you're tapping 2 creatures to do it, especially if they're humans, obviously. But you're not really, so you might be like saving 1 or 2 mana on things. So honestly, it's a great card, and I was stoked to put it in here. But then when playing with it, I'm just like, it's just completely not necessary. So save yourself $10. Forget about Cryptic Gateway.
This needs to be in a tribe that has a wide range of, like, I want to use two drops to cheat out an 8 drop.
Yeah.
And there aren't a lot of tribes. Like, dragons are mostly on the big side. Yep. Humans are mostly on the small side. What's this is not the tribe for this artifact.
I think humans is a fine tribe for this, but it's the Katilda making them into mana dorks that kills it.
I see.
So because there are some big humans, like Kamal is like a 7 mana human.
Yeah, that's true.
There's other ones as well. There are other, and like, when you get in like the 5 and 6, it's not like it's easy to find any kind of creature at that range. But you're right. I think there are tribes that take better advantage of it, generally speaking. And like I said, Katilda is already giving you so much mana that you don't really need to spend it. And certainly from a budget perspective, you don't need to be spending $10 for this card. Next, we also had Seedborn Muse, which is up and around that same price. We've already read this card. You guys know what it is. We're untapping permanents on every player's untap step. It's very, very good. If you had one when it got reprinted in the Commander decks, great, use it. If not, I wouldn't sweat it. There's lots of ways to untap in these colors. Actually, white loves to untap stuff. So green does too, weirdly enough. Like, there's a couple different ways to do it. So I wouldn't sweat it if you don't want to buy a Seedborn Muse for this deck. I wouldn't worry about it. Also, I thought Seedborn Muse was a human, and she is not. She is a spirit. So definitely get rid of it. That just saves you $20 right there. And then I can't remember so I had this card in the deck at one point, and then I cut it out. But I can't remember. It might still be being counted in the budget here. Sean, read this card for us.
Benefactor's Drought, 1 and a green, instant, untap all creatures. All creatures. Until end of turn, whenever a creature an opponent controls blocks, draw a card. And you draw a card.
This card's $12.
Yeah, why? Is it just scarcity because it was in a one-time commander? It's cheap, it cycles itself, so it's instant, so that's pretty good. You're never down a card. Like if it just seems bad, you just cycle it away early. Untap all creatures.
You know, if someone makes a big swing and your opponents can block and save themselves, you're going to draw a ton of cards off of that.
Right.
And you're going to make a friend, you know? Like, I see why it's good. I just did not expect it to be at $12. Something must have happened to make this card go up. I'm not sure.
There's got to be like maybe it's just for combo purposes. But I mean, Vitalize is just 1 green, so how can this be so much more than Vitalize? I don't know.
I know, and well, there is a version. I can't remember the name of it, but it's because it's in Portal or something.
Oh yeah,
it's the same as Vitalize, except that it's a sorcery, and it's like, yeah, it's way more money. But again, that's because of the set it's in. I get why that's happening.
Right.
Just looking at this, yeah, this card spiked. This card was $1 forever,
early.
And it spiked around Kaldheim. It looked like Kaldheim. It spiked up to $20.
What it was in Kaldheim?
I don't know, but then it went. Now it's settled back down around $12. Yeah, interesting. I don't know if any, MTG finance mind out there knows, or anyone just is really familiar with Kaldheim knows. Let us know. But anyways. That's, Benefactor's Drought somehow, $12. There you go. However, we do have a budget baby here, and this is a fun one. This one is 28 cents. Little budget baby. It's Diversionary Tactics. 3 and a white for an enchantment that says tap 2 untapped creatures you control, tap target creature. Another way for us to get a bunch of creatures tapped down for like God's Throne of the God Pharaoh or whatever. And, if there's a big, huge monster out there that, chump blocking is not going to stop it because it's got trample or something, you can just tap it down. Tapping creatures, like attacking creatures like that are about to attack you, I think is one of the more underrated things you can do in Commander. I think it's really nice and valuable. So
yeah, there
you go. That's the whole deck. That's everything. Fun times. Katilda's great. Check it out. New kind of spin on a Celestia deck. I love it. That's going to be it for this week. But stick around. Later in the week, we're going to be dropping Lost Cards. Otherwise, we'll be back next week with a brand new deck tech. We'll see you then.
Bye. Thanks for watching. If you love what we're doing, consider supporting the show by going to patreon.com/commandersbrew.
And if you want to get any of the cards from our deck list, go to our TCGplayer affiliate link below.
That helps us out too. And for a free way to help us out, consider sharing the show with some friends. Like and subscribe, add a comment or two.
See you later.
Bye.